Hello. Sorry about the late start today. Some kind of internet problem here. So if anybody's around, welcome to the lesson. Let's get started. We're going to do some reading. Hello. Hello, Omar. Hi.
Hi, how are you?
Oh, fine, thanks. Except I might disappear because I just phoned my internet provider and there is a cable problem somewhere. So I hope I'm okay, but they told me that they're working on it at the moment. They've just called out an engineer. So I thought I might be missing this one, but unfortunately, but it seems I'm here now, just in time. Hello there, Eric. Welcome back.
Hello.
And Mahmoud, welcome back too. Okay, now I have a question for you, because I was looking on Verbling and I saw some comments about scripts, film scripts. Some people prefer reading certain texts and maybe books, and some people like films, and some people like reading articles. Let me ask you, Omar, what kind of things do you like reading? When you're studying English, I mean to study English, what kind of things do you like to read?
Can I speak?
Yeah.
Okay. When it's come to English, I'd like to read anything that's related into medicine. Because I'm a pharmacy student, it's important for me to read anything that's related to my field. It could be useless reading some terminologies which are political, for example, for the political, such as imperialism and such terminologies.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer reading anything that gonna help me and improve my vocabulary, especially in my field.
Yeah, well, that's interesting because 2 years ago I was working with one or two doctors who were in cosmetic surgery and preparing to go to New York to give a presentation.
Mm-hmm.
And that was interesting for the vocabulary and technical language. And I know these days that there are lots of books specializing in certain technical language, for example, medicine, but not just medicine. We know finance and business English have always been represented, but many others are starting to come out with specialist books. Okay, so maybe you would prefer a series of classes where we have a little article, a different article, and maybe then sometimes we can have some medicine incorporated into it. That's interesting.
Well, I'd like to.
Okay, that's good. That's an interesting point of view and something which is interesting for me too. So let me go to Yuan. Didier Jean, is that right? Can I ask you the same question? What do you prefer? Because we can change this series of lessons. I have a film script to study, Some Like It Hot, but we could read newspaper articles, or we could read Sherlock Holmes, or anything really. So can you tell me what your preference would be?
Is Mike.
Joanne, I can't hear you. Are you speaking? Johan. I'll come back to you in a moment when you've sorted out your mic.
Sorry.
Okay, there you are.
Yeah, it's good. You're speaking too speed, and I don't understand what you're saying.
I'm asking you what you like to read in English, to learn English.
Yeah, for work in Europe, in other lands in Europe, for find work in other lands in Europe. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm having some problems with my connectivity. There's an engineer working here, so you might lose me here and there. Sorry, I thought it was you, but it was me. So I didn't hear any of that. So let me go. Johan, can you tell me again?
Okay. I just want speaking in English for the work in other country in Europe, or find the work in other country in Europe.
Okay, that's your reason for studying English, but have you read any books in English, for example? Have you read anything like Sherlock Holmes or anything?
No, I don't read any book in English now. I looking movie, but I know read a book.
Okay, so what I'm trying to do now is make a choice. I think we can study an old American film, which is very good for vocabulary. Called Some Like It Hot. Maybe you've heard of it or seen it. It's an old film, but it's a classic, and it's good for vocabulary. Very well written, they say, and it's got Marilyn Monroe in it. She's a famous old actress. Have you heard of Marilyn Monroe? Marilyn Monroe is I'll see if I can find a picture of her. Marilyn Monroe. I can't screen share at the moment for some reason.
Oh, the blonde lady.
Yeah, she's blonde, and she's... Yeah. Her real name was Norma Jean, and there was a song about her. Well, she's in this film. It's a comedy, so we can study that for some interesting new vocabulary and just to enjoy it. We could study Sherlock Holmes, or we could study articles. So, for example, a new article every lesson, different. So every lesson then would be different. So maybe this is important because if we study a book, it's best to come regularly to all of the lessons. So this lesson is on Monday and Friday at the same time. So who here is not able to come regularly and can only come sometimes? Eric, let me start with you. Are you able to come regularly or only sometimes?
Yeah, I'm able to come regularly.
Great. Okay, and what about the others?
For me, I don't believe that I'm going to make it regularly. Maybe sometimes, because at this time I have some exams to be made.
Right, so it looks like maybe it's a better idea then for some people to have a different lesson each time, and it's not a good idea maybe to read a book. Let's have a vote on that. Let's have just an idea about that.
Okay.
Who fancies reading a book such as Sherlock Holmes or Some Like It Hot, and who would prefer that every lesson is isolated, standalone? What do you think?
Every lesson.
So,
well, actually, I want to have some role play, you know, like TV drama script or a film script?
Yeah, it's quite exciting, I think, sometimes, because the film script is good for vocabulary and we can actually do some acting in a way. We can take some parts and we can try to act through the script and then we can speak about it. Okay, well, look, I think maybe it doesn't really matter if you don't make it every time, because first of all, you can have a look at the book when you have time, so you can come when you want and it's no problem, I think. So let's have a go. Let's try to introduce you to this film and this film script. It's called Some Like It Hot. I'm going to post a link to it, to the script, and tell you a little bit about it. I know it's quite old, but you know, some books are old. Shakespeare is very old and he's still around. Sometimes it's good to learn from some of these classics because they've survived many years, and they're classics because they've got something good to offer us. So I think this is an American classic, and it's got Jack Lemmon and Marilyn Monroe and Tony Curtis. Has anybody heard of any of those people?
Yes, Marilyn Monroe is a famous actress.
Marilyn Monroe, yes. And what about the other two, the men?
No, I didn't hear about them.
Okay, well,
Tony Curtis is a very famous actor.
Tony Curtis, yes, he is. Tony Curtis is very famous. He died recently. I saw him on TV about 10 years ago. But when he was young, he was a very good actor. And so I'm going to send you a little link about introducing this film called Some Like It Hot. And we can see some pictures. It's just loading. Hold on, it's a bit slow here, my connection today. I seem to have a technical problem. The interesting thing is, does anyone know who wrote this? That it's a man called Billy Wilder. Billy Wilder, and if you see about him on the internet, he is not an English speaker.
Yes, he's
not
from Austria.
Yeah, he's from Austria. So he produced this very rich text, and they say that because he was not English, that actually helped him because he needed to speak to a lot of people and work hard on it, and he worked with some very good people, and he produced this text, this script, which is very good. So we're going to have an introduction to it now, and I'm going to maybe post the link and also post the script. Just a second, it's a bit slow here. So here is a page about introducing this. So I'd like to ask Eric, first of all, to, if you can open that page, to try and read some of it for us. So there's a bit about Billy Wilder. So let's...
It seems I have some problem.
Okay, Eric, well, I'll
open the link.
So don't worry, because that's just one option. Can you see in the Verbling chat, or perhaps I ought to open the other chat?
Okay, I can see the sentence here in the chat box.
Right, so this is introducing you to Billy Wilder. So let's ask you to read this piece of introduction about Billy Wilder, please.
Okay. It's been said that one reason Billy Wilder's scripts were so perfectly crafted was that this Austrian immigrant knew no English when he arrived in Hollywood. He was a fast learner, though, and thanks to contacts such as Peter Lorre.
Let me just go back there and to try to get your intonation, because he was a fast learner, though. The though is dropping tone going back, and you were reading it forward. Do you understand? So he was a fast learner, though, and thanks to contacts, so we want to do it that way. Anyway, let's continue.
Okay. He was a fast learner, though, and thanks to contacts such as Peter Lorre, with whom he shared an apartment, he was able to break into American films. Book-length
Treaties.
treaties have been written about this
iconoclastic. That's a long word, isn't it?
Iconoclastic writer and director's work, and a special attention given to the art and craft he demonstrated in some like it hot. Anybody who can give us such as varieties as Double Indemnity, The Lost Weekend, Sunset Boulevard, Stalag 17,
Sabrina, yeah.
Sabrina, Witness for the Prosecution,
yeah.
Prosecution, and the Apartment can't be less than one of the most talented and
Versatile
writers and directors to ever move a lens.
When you say the word director, don't say D, but director or director. You can say it with a schwa sound, like director or die, but not D.
Director.
Yeah.
Okay. Directors to ever move a lens. He was at the top of his comedic form in some like heart.
That was a nice word, comedic, because that word is very unusual. And I thought you were going to say comedic, because it's comedy, but you did that really well. And I don't know if you did that intuitively, but that was really nice reading, Eric. Okay, so this man, okay, sorry, read it to the end then, because I've cut you off short.
Wherever seen is a film school essay in how to do it right.
Yeah, that's an important part at the end, you see. I thought this, and then I looked on the internet, and other people think the same, that sometimes if you go to a college and learn maybe something about media and producing, then they will study Billy Wilder, and they might even study this, because this is supposed to be a good example of how to do it right. You know, I think a decade or two ago, maybe in the 90s and end of the 80s as well, there were too many action movies, I think, and there were some films which didn't have a good script. But I'm happy to see that today, even children's films such as Shrek have very, very good scripts with lots of rich vocabulary, and the art of writing is back. This was some years ago, but now, even today, I think we have some great scripts back again, and some really interesting scripts. What's the opinion of everybody here about that? Do you agree with me or disagree? I think that, say, in the 90s, we had action movies, and we have some films, 2010, was it, and other films, which were really weak in the script, I thought. And before that, some other films were full of action but very bad script. But now, I don't know if you've seen Shrek and even children's films, but the script seems to be back now, and people like words again. What's your opinion about that? Let me see who. Pavel, do you have an idea about that? What's your opinion about that?
Yes, I agree with you, Leon, that the classic films are good to watch because they were classic because of the good things, and the best thing in the movie, what I personally think is the scenery. And yes, of course, many modern films have too much of the special effects, but the lack of the good scenery, and this is what films written by Billy Wilder, of course, have. For example, I watched Double Indemnity, and I find it maybe the best noir film of all of them.
Wow, that's really interesting, you know, because I have to admit, everybody, that I'm not a great expert on Billy Wilder, and when I read through this list of really good other good examples, that I haven't seen them, and I don't know too much about Double Indemnity. Could you just give me a very quick rundown on what happens and what that's about, Double Indemnity?
You know, there is a particular thing in this film that the main hero of the film is played by actually the comic actor. So Double Indemnity is a noir film. It is a tragedy, but the main role is played by the comedian. It's very funny. And
well, that's a typical situation, and I've heard this kind of scenario many times where comedians are the vehicle for delivering something serious. And yeah, tell me some more. That's very interesting.
Yes, the plot is that the main hero is an insurance agent who offers insurances, and one day he meets some lady who wants to make an insurance for her husband.
Maybe she wants to insure her husband against death, maybe.
Yes, he wants to insure her husband against death, and without him knowing that he is insured. So she can kill him and get the money. And she offers this plan to the main hero. He thinks a little, and then he agrees. And then they kill him and try to make it the situation so like and another thing, the Double Indemnity is a statement in the insurance that gives a double sum of money if the insured person dies on in a railroad accident.
Ah, so double indemnity is a kind of term used in the insurance industry. So if you have an insurance policy, you could pay for, or you could have a policy which allows a double indemnity in certain situations. That's a double payout, is it?
Yes. And so they make it that the husband dies in a railroad accident, so they can get more money. And through the film, another worker of insurance company tries to investigate the case, and finally he finds everything out, and the main hero goes to the death row.
Whoa, I must have a look at that one. That's great. And I haven't really had time to study all of these because I'm too busy with Chaucer and Shakespeare and millions of others. So this is the problem with the world, isn't it, today? We have the internet, and we have so much quantity as well on the internet that we sometimes don't have time to go back and look through classics. Life is so busy these days. How much time, Pavel, do you actually have to spend on things like reading?
Not much time, because I read by my profession. I'm a lawyer, so I must read very, very much, and non-fictional things. So
yes, I think this is a problem we all have these days. Maybe they had this same problem in the past, but I feel today this problem is more exaggerated. So, okay, let me soon get on to getting started with the actual story. Does anybody know the story of Some Like It Hot? A kind of overview story of the plot. So let's see who knows nothing about this film. I know, Pavel, you do know something about it, so let me ask the others. So, Omar, do you have any idea about Some Like It Hot? Have you heard of this film, or do you know the story?
No, I haven't heard about it.
Okay, Mahmoud, have you heard the story? Mahmoud, are you there? I can't hear you, by the way. All right, let me go to Eric.
Well, actually, I've never heard it before. Yeah, but I just read some overall review about it, and it seems like a comedian or something.
Okay, so the first thing we need to do is try to get an idea of the situation here, because you could say it's a kind of situation comedy, although those words are used more for TV shows. So there is a kind of situation which has been created here. And so I think now I'd like to get to a kind of overview of what this whole film script is about. So let me paste the text here. Pavel, I presume you do know what I presume you do know what this film is about, and you have a fair idea about it. You've seen it.
Yes, it's a quite popular film in Russia too.
Okay, well, why don't you just tell us the overview of the film?
As I remember, the film is about the overview also, not about the plot.
Well, the plot, yes. Just tell us a kind of synopsis of the story.
It is a comedy. It is a comedy. The comedy begins when two men get. I think they must run from some evil people. So they dress like women.
Why do they dress as women? Do you have any idea? I mean, obviously this is a kind of created situation, but what is the excuse for that?
Yes, they had to dress like women because they joined the female jazz orchestra as the musicians.
Yeah, and did they want to join a male band?
I don't remember this moment. I think they had no choice.
They had no choice because and one advantage was, I suppose, that because they were dressed as women, there was very little chance of being caught because they could go to another city, a long way away from Chicago, because they witnessed a murder in Chicago, which is very famous. It's called the St. Valentine's Day Massacre. Something to do with one of the big gangsters in Chicago at that time. So they went away to another part of the country. Where did they go? They went to Florida, actually. I think they went to Miami or somewhere in Florida, and they were dressed as women. And tell me some more. What happened?
Then to the end of the film, it's like they were running around. The killers. Firstly, the killers found them, and then they tried to catch the main heroes. And so they ran around. Something like that.
So, what kind of category would you put this film in? Is it an action movie?
Yes, it has some action moments, but it is rather a comedy.
Comedy, yes, and maybe even has elements of farce. Do you know this word, farce?
Farce, yes, yes.
Yes, maybe it has elements of farce as well, because sometimes it's difficult to put a film into one class of film only. I would say it has elements of action, elements of farce, but it's basically a comedy.
Sometimes it resembles the Ben Hill show for me.
Yeah, the Benny Hill show. That's an interesting thing from the past. Benny Hill, yes, he was strange. So now I'm going to try to have a look at something which gets us started. So, can you remember anything about history? What was going on in those days? There was something happening in the United States at that time, in the late 20s in Chicago. There was a special rule, a special law made at that time at the end of the Great Depression. Do you remember anything about that?
Yes, in Russian it sounds like literally the dry law, but how it is in English? Not some
They used to call it a prohibition law, yes, a prohibition law, where what were you not allowed to do?
You are not allowed to sell alcohol.
Right, you were not allowed to sell alcohol, drink alcohol. So alcohol was basically against the law. And what did they call somebody who sells alcohol illegally? If you sell maybe anything illegally, there was a word they would use beginning with boot. Okay, well, let's see if we can have a look at this piece of text here and read through, and then we can try to learn some of this vocabulary. Now, I'm going to post some into the room as well. So, can I ask Omar, can you do a bit of reading for us? So this is a situation at the beginning of the film, starts the film off.
Okay.
So, hold on.
I'm gonna start. One of the men is driving, another in the seat beside him. The other two are sitting in the rear of the hearers.
Just a second, please. I think there's a little bit missing at the beginning, so let me paste that again because it's just starting on the second sentence. Sorry. Okay, so there we go. It says inside.
Okay. Inside the hearer, there are 4 sample men in the black and a coffin. Of course, with the wearer of
I'll give you this one. A wreath is some flowers, and what is this black car called a hearse or a hearse? So I'll start. I will give you the start. There is a kind of funeral car driving along the road, and the name for this funeral car is hearse. Sometimes with a T, hearse, but it's driving along, and the wreath is a round circle of flowers. So when somebody has died, sometimes they make a wreath. The wreath is a circle of flowers to show respect. It goes on the gravestone sometimes. And this is a kind of flower. It looks like a very difficult word to say, but it's chrysanthemums. Chrysanthemums.
On the top. Okay, now I see it. I'll continue. One of the men is driving. Another is in the seat beside him. The other two are sitting in the rear of the hearse. Flanking in the coffin.
And what does flanking mean there? Flanking, what do you think that means?
Flanking something like this? That is flanking? I don't know.
The flank is the edge or the outside of something. The wing. The wing. So the flanking means on the sides of.
On the side of. On the edge.
Yeah. So the flank is the wing or the side. In military strategy, you can attack through the center, or you can do a flank attack, go round, sideways. So flanking the coffin, they're on the side of the coffin. Okay.
Okay. All four seem fully aware of the solemnity.
The solemnity. What is that? Solemnity.
I don't know.
You know, if you go to a funeral, you're supposed to act kind of sad.
That's excellent.
So solemn is a word used in churches and religious occasions when you have to be a bit respectful to the dead or something. So you're not really joking. You're just a bit serious.
They usually ask for 1 minute where you stand up for the death or something like that.
Yes, and during that time you would have to have a solemn expression. It's not you. It wouldn't be very good to do this. So you have to act. So they're actually acting because I think there isn't really a funeral and there isn't really a dead person in the coffin. Let's read on and see.
All right. Shall I continue?
Yeah.
Okay. Now they hear a siren.
It's a siren. What is that? Siren.
I don't know.
They hear it and they're driving the hearse, looking like they're respectful funeral people with a funeral parlour, but really they're not. They're gangsters. Anyway, behind we hear Nina, Nina, Nina. The siren.
That is a siren.
Yeah, the word siren is interesting. It comes from Greek language. There was there was a little island where the sirens would sing like women, and the sailors would crash. But now we call this sound this police and ambulance siren.
That's interesting story. Okay, and we're really here. Faint at the first, but rapidly growing louder. The driver and the man next to him exchange a nervous glance. The other two men move tensely toward the rear door of the hearse. Raise the black curtain over the glass panel and peek out cautiously.
Let me read that sentence. There's a few tricky pronunciations there. Raise and curtain doesn't have any ending stress. So curtain. Raise the black curtain. So you can even say it without t. Curtain. Curtain. I might say both ways, depending. The black curtain over the glass panel and peek out cautiously. So they're looking out at the police. Curtain.
Curtain over the glass panel and peek out cautiously.
Cautiously is being careful.
Carefully.
It's a bit different to carefully, isn't it? Cautiously, something might happen. Something dangerous might happen. Look what cautiously. Caution and care are a little bit different. Okay, let's go on.
Through the glass panel, they see a police car bearing down on them. The red light blinking, the siren screaming.
Now, there's a phrasal verb there. Can you explain bearing down?
Which one?
Through the glass panel, they see a police car bearing down. If something is bearing down on you...
Bearing down, closing down, which is passing them.
It's coming up to them. It's bearing down on them. It's getting closer and closer, yeah. So now, the next bit, we'll move on. Maybe... right. Here we have the next piece of text. So let me see, who have we got? Just 4 of us here today. So maybe this is too difficult for a lot of people, but I was hoping to fill the room today, but we'll see. Eric, let's go back to you then.
Okay. The 2 men at the rear window gesture to the driver to step on it.
What is that then? Hey, step on it. What's going on there? Step on it.
Keep on driving.
A bit more than that. The police car is bearing down on you. Nina, Nina, Nina. You're looking out of the back.
You're driving over the police car.
The police car is coming behind you really fast, catching up, bearing down on you. So you tell the driver, step on it.
Well, bearing back down the police car.
But the driver has to step on what?
Step on
the police car. the police.
No.
Step on the pedal.
Pedal. Put your foot down. We sometimes say in England.
Okay.
Step on it. They might say, or get a move on.
Okay.
Shift it. Yeah. Okay. Let's go on.
The hearse, obviously a souped up job. Instantly
Well, that's
picks up
interesting.
speed.
Let's stop there. The hearse,
Okay.
obviously a souped-up job. So, what does that mean? We're talking about this funeral car, the hearse, a souped-up job. What does that mean? Souped up.
You know, very slow, very. The hearse, it's a funeral car, so it usually drives very slow, I think.
Usually, a hearse would not be very fast, but
yeah.
this car suddenly, there's a big engine there, whoom, off it goes. Obviously, a souped-up job. What could be souped up?
Souped up.
Soup is something you make, isn't it? And if you soup up something, you actually modify it in some way. So somebody has got hold of a vehicle like a hearse car, but they've maybe sometimes they would jack up the back wheels and put great big lots of chrome on and big tubes on the back. You know, the boy racers might do this, but these gangsters are trying to pretend they are in the funeral business, so they have a big powerful engine somewhere in this car. It's souped up, it's modified. Okay.
Okay. Got it. Instantly picks up speed. Weaves crazily through traffic. The police car in hot pursuit. The hearse careers around a corner at 80 miles an hour. The police car right on its tail. By this time, the policemen are learning that leaning out of their car with drawn guns, firing at the hearse.
Okay, now that word careering is not usually used as a verb like this. What is it, careering? Usually, sometimes we say careering out of control. So it's a kind of movement where you're not fully in control. Vroom, like, just go. So the hearse careers around a corner. If anyone's in the way, then watch out, because they could be knocked over. They just want to go, get away from the police. But the police are not giving up. The police are in hot pursuit. And they're chasing after them, leaning out of their car, firing at them. So this is the way it was supposed to be. I didn't live in those times, but in Chicago, they had a few gangsters. There was one particular famous one who was involved in these Valentine massacres that these two were running away from later. Do you remember the name of this famous gangster?
Al Capone?
Al Capone, yeah. Al Capone, yes. I'm sure there's been a lot worse men than Al Capone in the world. He was a bit bad. I heard one story about he was actually in local government, and he was up inside the office, the building of the offices where the council men were meeting, and somebody said Al Capone should be the Lord Mayor of the city mayor, and somebody laughed. Someone went, ha ha, and the story goes that that man was dead that day. So he was a bit bad, but you know, we've had some pretty bad people in the world, but he's got a good name for himself. He's gone down in folklore as a kind of gangster from this city at this time. Right, so let's move back to whose turn is it? Is it Pavel next or Omar to read? Who was reading before Eric? I can't remember. Anyway, yeah. So okay, let's continue then.
Who reads?
So is it Omar or Pavel next?
It's Pavel's turn.
Pavel's turn next. Okay.
Yes, I'm afraid The page loaded in my browser just now. It was slow, so.
Well, maybe if you take it from the group chat, it might be easier because I've posted it there. It's next is the two men in the rear.
The two men in the rear. Oh, Chicago 1929 is it this page?
Right. Let me see which page I'm on. I'm on. Yeah, that's right. And then if you go down into the text, it says one of the men is driving, another is in the seat behind him. Go down a few lines, and the two men at the rear window.
The rear.
I've put. Can you see in the text?
Yes, yes, I can see it now. Two men at the rear from this moment.
Yeah.
The two men at the rear window gesture to the driver to step on it.
Oh, sorry. We've read that one, haven't we? And the hearse, obviously a souped-up job. So go through there, and then we've got the two men in the rear of the hearse again later.
The two men in the rear of the hearse, flattened against the sides, pull a couple of sawn-off shotguns out of a hidden overhead rack. Release bullets smash the glass panel and whistle through the hearse. The driver and the man next to him duck, but the hearse continues at the same breakneck speed.
Okay, just hold on there. Let's go through some words there. So the word is hearse for this vehicle, so try to get hearse. You know, in Russia, some people don't say the bird sounds of English quite correctly. They say a bit airy, so hearse like that, but it's hearse. That's the car. And sawn off, what is that? Sawn off shotguns.
It is a weapon with with big part of the barrels removed.
Yeah, the barrel, that's the word. Double barrel usually, and if you saw them, there was a time when we lost a bit of control, and there was in London, and they used to have some bank robbers who would go around and doing bank robberies, and they often would go into the banks with a sawn-off shotgun. Well, not too often, thank goodness, but it doesn't happen very much these days, but they were very dangerous weapons because they could be easily concealed. Other word there is whistle. Whistle through the hearse. What is that? What's happening there?
Whistle is a high-pitched sound, and so I think here whistle describes that the bullets moved with this sound.
Like, yes. Okay, so let's read on then. Oh, by the way, another word there is duck. We spoke about this before. Can you tell us what the driver and the man next to him duck? It's a verb.
They not set down. They got themselves lower.
Yeah, when people are firing at you, you don't want to have your head up high, so duck, get your head down. Right. But the hearse continues at the same breakneck speed. Breakneck is a bit dangerous speed. Okay, let's go from there then.
I continue, yes?
Yeah, please.
The two men in back shove. The two men in back shove their guns through the shattered glass, fire at the police car. Despite the hail of lead, the police car...
That's lead. Hail of lead. They say, I'm going to fill you full of lead. Because the shot in a shotgun is lead. Lead is a metal, isn't it? Which we use when we go fishing, or it's very heavy grey metal. So despite the hail of lead, hail is like frozen rain. Lots of lead in the air. Okay.
The police car, its windshield cobwebbed with bullet holes, gains on the hearse.
Yeah, cobweb is like a spider's web, so it's the whole window is broken up like a spider's web because of bullet holes. Yeah.
Suddenly the car skids out of control, jumps the curb, comes to a screeching stop. Policemen leap out, fire after the hearse. In the speeding hearse, the last of the police bullets thud into the coffin. Instantly, three geysers, no,
Geysers. Geysers or geezers? No, guy. So the water, you know, sometimes in Iceland and in parts of the north of the North America, there are places. I think in Russia too. There's some a place, isn't there, where
Yes.
water comes up.
In Kamchatka, volcanic activity.
Yeah.
Geysers of liquid spurt through the bullet holes. As the firing recedes, the two men in the back put away their guns, remove the wreath from the coffin, take the lid off. The inside is jam-packed with bottles of booze, some of them shattered by the bullets. As the men start to lift out the broken bottles,
Yeah, so that now that superimposes change scenes to the next scene. So this is the start of the whole story. So can you just give me a kind of overview what happened?
what happened?
Who these men are, and just tell me something about it.
These men are the offenders of the prohibition. They carry the forbidden goods, actually the booze, in their car somewhere, perhaps to sell, maybe. And the police is after them, and then the people don't want to stop, so the police shoots at them.
Yeah, it's very interesting when you said the police is after them, because the police is good when you're speaking about the organisation of the police. The police is a fine constitutional organisation, but when you're speaking about one car full of police, you just say the police are coming. So yeah, okay, so that's great. So we know the story. This is really setting the scene of Chicago in those days and the gangsters, and we haven't got to the stage yet where the heroes of the story are involved, but we're really just setting the scene. So we have Gangsterland in Chicago, and now the next one is the funeral parlor at night. So actually, do you remember what happens next in the film? There is there's some kind of raid. What do you think I mean? Some kind of raid, police raid. Okay, we have a funeral parlor.
Yeah.
The police know about this place, and there's a gangster who is operating this bootlegging operation and pretending to be a funeral director, and his name is Spats Colombo. Spats are actually interesting shoes which came back into fashion some time ago when I was younger. I think they come back in and out now and again, and they are black and white shoes. You look like a bit of a penguin actually when you wear these shoes. Do you know these shoes? Shoes called Spats.
Yeah.
Well, you know, Spats Colombo was quite proud of his spats because they were very clean and stylish and fashionable, and that's why he had his name Spats Colombo. And they were mafia men. So they were Italian immigrants, some of them, and from other places. So their English was not so great. For example, in the film, we have a machine gun, and the word machine is often mispronounced, and the gangsters call it machine, my machine, because in some languages this word is stressed a different way. How do you say this word in Russian? Do you have the word machine in Russian?
Автомат.
So you don't really use the word machine.
Yes.
So Spats Colombo was the funeral director, but he wasn't really the funeral director. So the police knew about it, and there's going to be a raid. What do you think they will do? What do you think the police, Mulligan and the police chief, will do? How would you plan a raid?
I can only imagine, because I don't remember the actual scene from the film.
So how would you do it if you were the police captain or the?
How I would take a few policemen. Well, a few means a little, not
Just
not
a few, maybe 4 or 5 or something like this.
Yes, 4 or 5. Better 10 or 20 policemen. Then we will get a disguise as civilians, and then with concealed weapons. Also, we would come to this place, and without opening who we are until we are inside and fully in control.
Okay, so look, we're at the end now. I have to finish on time, unfortunately. I'd love to go on, but I hope that we can keep this going a bit. So the next one in this series is on Friday, but it doesn't really matter too much. But I hope that I can see you again, and I hope we can try to carry on with it. I'll be doing some other lessons as well, other things, and if anyone has some good suggestions, for example, medical English, maybe that's a bit too specialist for groups, but it's an interesting idea to at least think about. So I'll say goodbye now, close the broadcast, end the broadcast, and then hope to see you on Friday. And again in the other lessons as well, other things. All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you. Bye.
Bye.
See you later.
Thanks.